Hello and welcome to Fiction Fans, a podcast where we read books and other words too. I'm Lily.
And I'm Sarah, and today we will be discussing Starstruck by Aimee Ogden.
But before we get into that conversation, we have our quick 5-minute intro, starting with something great that happened recently.
So this is a little bit bittersweet, which I feel goes perfectly with this novel. But I went to one of Mr. Squeak's vets yesterday to return some unopened allergy medication. And they had said that they could take it back and they would give me a refund. But one of the meds, they said, we'll take it back and we'll donate it, which was fine. And then I got there and they refunded all of it. And I was very touched.
Yeah.
And also, in total, it was a large sum of money. So I'm glad to have gotten it refunded. But when I got it, she was doing fine.
Yeah.
So good, sad, but also good.
That is really perfect for this book.
Yeah.
My good thing is that I got away with using an expired coupon at the grocery store today.
Ooh, what a rebel.
I had like a thick stack of them from this spring. And apparently a bunch of them expired in April. But
Oopsies.
I thought, we'll see what happens. And it worked. I'm a criminal mastermind.
Very exciting for you.
It was really exciting. I had rehearsed perfectly in my head how graceful, because I wasn't going to be a jerk if it didn't work.
Right, of course not.
I just wanted to try it just in case. But I had my whole reaction rehearsed with oh no worries, it was fine. Didn't have to use it.
Nice.
What are you drinking tonight?
I thought about making tea because it is actually quite gray and overcast here, but that was effort, so I'm drinking wine instead.
It is gray and overcast here as well, except it's also 80 degrees.
It's not 80 degrees here.
I am swimming. Anyway, so I'm drinking pomegranate juice. It's cold and nice.
I can see you put it to your face.
I'm snuggling the pomegranate juice. We, listeners, a peek behind the veil. This is our second recording in 48 hours or something like that.
Yeah, normally we have more time in between episode recordings, but not this week.
Have you read anything good lately?
No.
Yeah, okay. Figured I'd ask.
I thought about doing reading, and then I watched Gardener's World instead.
Which is very appropriate for this book. Okay, we're going to stop dancing around it now. The premise of this book is so whimsical. I think, did we get an email about it? And we were like, how can we not?
Yes. Yes, so, this is an advanced reader. I mean, the book is out now, but we did get an advanced copy of it. And just thought that it sounded so whimsical.
A fox and a radish are living their best lesbian cottagecore life. And how does that not intrigue you? I mean, it does, is the answer.
Yeah.
I had a lot of questions. They were answered. The questions I had going into the book were answered. I saw your hesitation.
Yeah, I mean, because I was going to say, I have questions about, how everything works still. And those I wouldn't necessarily say that they were answered, but it also doesn't matter that they weren't answered. I didn't need everything to be answered.
No, me neither. I felt content at the end. Well, I felt absolutely heartbroken at the end, but we'll get into that.
Yes. It was a really good story. Still heartbroken at the end.
So, this is a world where falling stars land on things and bring them to life, turn them into werewolves, but not,
I mean, they turn them into
humanoid
versions. Humanoid versions of themselves. Sentient humanoid versions of themselves.
Our main character, Prish, is living with her wife, Olsing? Partner?
Yeah, I don't know if they're married, but they're definitely life partners.
Yeah, I mean, they have grown old together. They are in at least middle age, I'd say.
Yeah, they're in a very established relationship. They've been in a relationship for a long number of years.
And all of this is sort of just to paint a picture, because then you actually get into the content of this book, and it is quite upsetting. Not in like a grimdark horror kind of way, in a very like emotional, quiet, personal kind of way.
Yeah. So Prish, who is a radish, and her wife Alsing,
Who
or
is a
partner.
fox, I think I said.
Yes, yes. Alsing is a fox.
The only case where they could possibly not be wives is if the institution of marriage does not exist in this fantasy world.
Or if they just haven't legally gotten married because they live out in the wilderness.
Not relevant.
Not relevant. But they're basically wives. And they have this cute little cottage, and Prish grows vegetables, and they're very happy, except that for the last 18 months, I believe it was, they haven't seen any stars create new Starstruck, create these new sentient beings. And that is a really big, I want to say, bummer, which
kind
sounds
of trivializes it.
Yeah, that kind of trivializes it. But it makes Alsing upset and depressed, and her depression, I think, gets to a point where she doesn't want to stay there anymore. So she and Prish she decides, and Prish goes along with leaving their cottage to move elsewhere. And that's kind of where the story starts.
And it also introduces what I would call the main conflict of the plot. I mean, there's external stuff going on too, but this sort of resentment that Prish has, that Alsing has decided she wants to move, and Prish doesn't. She wants to stay at home. And they don't really handle it well. Prish kind of gets on a whole martyr thing, which was infuriating for me. They don't talk about it at all. Prish just is mad.
Yeah, and on the one hand, I understood where Prish is coming from, because I get it. It's, if you have a partner who really feels very strongly about something, it's hard to tell them that you feel exactly the opposite. But also, you are in a partnership. You do have to, communicate. That's part of what being in a relationship is all about. I too sometimes wanted to shake Prish and go, Alsing doesn't know you're mad at her because you haven't said that you don't want to move. You haven't made any indication whatsoever that you are unhappy. And she can't read your mind. She is not a mind reader.
So the tension between them grows, because Alsing can tell something is wrong, and Prish is kind of shitty, not in like a really aggressive way, but just like she has no patience for anything.
Prish is trying to hide her resentment and not always doing it very well.
No. And so then Alsing has no patience for Prish, and all of this is not a great, road trip vibe, if you will. And then they meet some other characters, and that kind of concludes, well, I did just barrel on past the two additional characters, but that is to say, we have a very small cast of characters in this book. It feels extremely intimate in every way.
Yeah, it is I'd say it's a very personal story. Like, obviously, there is this larger problem of what's going on with the lack of Starstruck, and the novel or novella does deal with it, but that's not what the novella is about. It's a very tightly focused story.
And I mean, there is no wasted space. You just called it a novella. It's very short.
Yeah, I don't know what the word count is, but it's 94 pages apparently if you have a physical copy.
One of the interesting experiences of reading ebooks instead of physical books is you don't necessarily know how far through the story you are. So after my first session of reading it, I put it down, and when I picked it back up, I was like, oh no. What do you mean I'm halfway through?
On the other hand, like, I don't feel that this story needed to be any longer.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good size. It doesn't feel like it's sacrificing anything in the length.
No, and like you said earlier, the unanswered questions feel intentional.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just regular people. Why would they have figured out the secrets of the universe?
Yeah, I think that Ogden is being very intentional with everything that is done in this book.
So, as our main characters are traveling, they first meet Otra. Do they meet? Yeah, they meet Otra first.
I mean, it's kind of at the same time.
It is? Okay. She is a Starstruck. Suddenly, after all of this time, there's a new Starstruck. And it's a stone that gets turned into a person, which has completely unheard of. And Otra is, I'm going to say it, a piece of work.
It is incredibly self-absorbed. I did find her very hard to read about.
She is whimsy to the max, which turns out sucks to be around. So much of this book feels like it introduces like this concept of like silly, lighthearted fun. Oh no, but actually though, in like both just the major premise of the book and also in like characters like Otra and things like that.
Yeah, it feels like it takes the concept and then goes, but what if?
Mm-hmm. No, but actually.
Yeah, no, but actually.
Especially in the other character, Wick. His name is Wick, right?
Yes, I believe so.
And he's a kid. Prish isn't sure exactly how old he is because he's human. He's not a Starstruck. We think he's maybe about 13 or 14.
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah, not like little, but also certainly not an adult. And he is not running away from home exactly. His parents have left him, and so he's off on an adventure to his aunt's house or something to that effect, which feels like the start of every like fairy tale. Like, oh yeah, this young kid is just gonna go off into the world and everything will be fine, and he meets some talking animals and goes on adventures.
He definitely is the protagonist of a YA novel.
Yes. But turns out being abandoned at 13, not a fun experience.
Kinda sucks.
Yeah. So you have this damaged kid, I should say, not damaged, that was mean. You know what I mean. We have Otra, who could not give less of a shit about the people around her.
In her defense, she is also very young.
Yes.
We don't know how long it takes Starstruck to kind of gain that emotional maturity.
And she talks later on about how she is struggling with this concept of being 3 days old, but also being ancient, because she does kind of have some sense memories of being a stone. And that is kind of crazy to reconcile.
Yeah. So I found her very frustrating, but I also kind of got it.
I was actually quite charmed by her. She like would draw a face on herself. Like, that's really funny and very sweet.
Sure, she did sweet things, but she also like insisted on taking Wick's gloves that were his mother's because he wasn't using them, and not in a cute way.
No. I think what bothered me the most was actually how Alsing got on Prish's case for not being charmed by Otra. Like,
Yeah.
Alsing refused to acknowledge how frustrating Otra was.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this again comes down to the fact that Alsing and Prish just really needed better communication skills.
They were going through some stuff, and it got externalized around the people that they met.
Yeah.
But so they meet these two sort of lost souls, and well, Otra gets swept up with them because that's what you do. When there's a new Starstruck, the other Starstruck like help them acclimate. It seemed very cool, very sweet.
Yeah, very community oriented, which was
yes.
nice.
And then of course, Alsing is sort of the mother hen, if you excuse the joke. And when she finds out that Wick is traveling alone, she's like, absolutely not. We are going to go with you to your whatever relative's house.
Yeah, Alsing is definitely the people person, and Prish is the one who's happy by herself or in very limited company, mostly just Alsing.
Yeah. And so her hackles were raised because she is in this very, like, stressful relationship situation with Alsing. And then meeting these other, I'm going to say characters, not as in characters in a book, but like, what a character. Neither of them were on their best behavior. And Prish had no patience for it, and Alsing had no patience for that. And it's a very tense book.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of relationship drama, or not relationship drama necessarily, but like interpersonal conflict.
Yeah.
At the heart of this book.
And people snapping at each other and then feeling bad, but not really feeling comfortable enough to apologize. Yeah. And so just simmering, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Good. I mean, like, intentional. Very good.
Oh yeah, incredible. But especially when you consider it's a radish. Just taking these like very silly, outlandish concepts, but making it so human at its core.
Yeah, it really was incredible. Just the characterization and all was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. And they run into some other people on the way, but those are the 4 characters that this book really follows.
They are definitely the main characters. At one point, they stop in a city, and there's an innkeeper who is just so nice. And I want to shout out that innkeeper because, like, when they get there, they don't necessarily have a lot of money, but the innkeeper offers them so much food. It completely is fine with Alsing accidentally, like, breaking a teacup in shock. Just seems like a really nice person. And I was prepared for there to be more money stress in the city section because Prish had talked about how they didn't have a ton of money. And that actually was not a source of tension at all or conflict at all.
I mean, it's a topic that they do end up snapping at each other over because Otra asks for something out of the budget and Prish says no. And Alsing is mad about that, even though she also agrees at the same time. Which just goes to show she's not actually mad about how snappy Prish is being, right?
Yeah.
Wandelheim.
Was the innkeeper's name?
The city.
Oh.
No, the city.
The city.
It took way too long. It's not funny anymore. But I was going to say, shout out to the wilted flower. Anyone passing through Wandelheim, check it out. 5 stars.
This episode sponsored by
the drowsy marigold. It took me like half an hour to find it, and so the joke has passed, but I made it anyway.
Completely unrelated. I know that I have some Baldur's Gate 3 brain rot because the city that Prish and Alsing are originally going to is Eltamel, I believe. And I did keep wanting to read that as Elturel. Is that the name of the...
It is, yes. So, who should read this book? If you're looking for a punch in the gut?
Yeah, if you want a whimsical, bittersweet novella about the human experience, I think this is a great book for you.
There's also some really gorgeous descriptions of, like, home life and gardening, and this is not a cozy book because it is so stressful. But there's a lot of cozy trappings.
Yeah, it's not a cozy book, but it's a soft book, I think.
Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah, and it's really beautifully written, too. This episode of Fiction Fans is brought to you by Fiction Fans.
That's us. We really appreciate our patrons because otherwise we fund this podcast entirely ourselves.
Patrons can find weekly bonus content, monthly exclusive episodes, and have free access to our biannual zine, Solsticia.
You can find all of that and more at patreon.com/fictionfanspod. Thank you for all of your support.
The remainder of this episode contains spoilers.
So the big twist at the end is that Wick's parents disappeared, or left him, disappeared, whatever, because they were stealing falling stars. They invented a machine to steal the falling stars so that they could have the power instead of them making a Starstruck. And then they consumed that power somehow and became something else.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it was pretty clear. I think there are hints early on that Wick's parents have something to do with the disappearance of the Starstruck.
Yes.
Like that was not, I wouldn't necessarily call it a twist or a reveal, but
okay.
But that was the climax, is that's confirmed.
And then we also find out that it's not just falling stars that their machine can take, but it's also the humanity out of an existing living Starstruck.
Yes.
Which is horrifying.
It is. And there's not a lot of time spent on that aspect of it necessarily. It just kind of gets wrapped in with all of the other bits of the climax. But Wick's parents were pretty clearly terrible.
Yeah, it's that passage, because we kind of get like, it's not exactly Wick's perspective, but it's the close third person switches to Wick, while our other main characters are marbled.
Yes, while their souls have been taken out of their bodies.
Yeah, and so like turns back into a rock, Prish turns back into a radish, and Alsing turns into a fox and runs away.
Yeah. And it's just such a terribly bittersweet ending, because Wick grapples with, well, my parents loved me after all, like they wanted me to use this machine and follow them, but I've gotten to know these Starstruck and care for them, and I don't actually think that it's a good thing to steal their souls.
Hot take.
Yeah. Hot take from the 13-year-old. But at the same time, he can't put Alsing's soul back in because A, the fox has run off, but also there's a cracked marble. Like something happens in that process because it's kind of a not inherently, I mean, I guess one could argue that stealing someone's soul is inherently violent, but the way that it happens is also kind of a little violent.
They're fighting over the machine and it accidentally goes off, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That whole section is not super precise with what's going on.
It's not, which I'm okay with. Like, this is not a novel or a novella where I needed everything to be super explicit, to be honest.
No, we were running on vibes and it was great.
Yeah.
It was terrible, but it was great.
Yeah, like there is enough there, enough substance that it can be backed up by vibes.
Yeah. The world building is vibes. Well, and like I said, okay, maybe Wick's parents figured it out, but there's no reason why these completely normal people would understand like the science behind this. So I'm okay with us not understanding it.
Yeah, exactly. And Prish basically says that herself. Like, yeah, I don't get the science. That's not the kind of thing that me as a radish I do.
Yeah. Me as a gardener, I would say. Because a radish could be a scientist in this world.
That's true. That's true.
Just not.
That's true.
All right. I might be a monster, but the really, really sad ending of Prish having to watch her wife, like, be a fox and not know her anymore made me way more okay with their deteriorating relationship. Not in an I think they deserved it way, but like, I don't know, it changed the focus of the emotional conflict.
I get what you're saying. I'm not sure that I entirely agree with it, but I do think, because they do eventually have an argument where Prish lets out all of this unspoken resentment, and Alsing's like, what the fuck, I'm not a mind reader.
Although Prish brings up, and I think she didn't have a lot of legs to stand on, but she did have a point where Alsing didn't even ask.
Yeah, I mean, Prish does have a point there.
Yeah.
I think that she should have talked about her feelings to Alsing sooner, even if Alsing hadn't brought it up. But she's right. Alsing hadn't asked. And the fact that they have that discussion finally, or disagreement or argument, meant that I felt better about the lack of communication leading up to it because there was a payoff. And then the fact that they weren't able to work it out because almost immediately afterwards, everything goes down with Wick's parents' machine and Alsing turns back into a regular fox, just made it feel really, really bittersweet.
Yeah.
Because I think they would have eventually worked it out if they had been able to continue that conversation.
It seemed like they were like growing.
Yeah.
and learning in their relationship. It's interesting, right? Because like on one hand, I'm thinking, did they just never struggle? And maybe they didn't, because relationships are easy when there's no stress.
Yeah, I mean,
And
maybe their situation in their previous cottage was such that they had a pretty good life. They didn't experience a lot of unhappiness. It doesn't sound like this is a world in which there is a ton of stress and bad stuff happening, to be
which
perfectly
is lovely.
honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because part of me is like, how are you grown-ass adults who have been together for decades and not figured this out yet? You know what I mean? But also, because the ending is so sad, it just makes me feel sad for Prish and Alsing, of course, but Prish is the main character, instead of mad at her.
Yes.
Because I spent this book so mad at her. Like, she has this whole martyr thing going, where poor put upon Prish, she is just gonna do these things for Alsing, and no one appreciates her, and it's like, you're not actually doing a nice thing if you resent them for doing it. That's not how favors work.
Yeah.
So I was extremely annoyed with her. But then it was just so sad. I was like, oh, hey, I'm not annoyed with you anymore.
I mean, and it does kind of like, I don't know, for me it's very much life doesn't go the way that you think it will. And you can't do anything about it.
Well, yes. And if they had known those were their last days together, they probably would have gotten their shit together.
Yeah.
But how do you know that? Yeah.
Yeah, like you can speculate all you want, but ultimately you have to deal with the life that you've lived.
It's that saying, it reminds me of that saying, never go to bed angry.
Yeah.
Which obviously doesn't mean never go to bed angry, because that's insane. But it's talking about this, right? Like, you don't know what tomorrow is going to be, so like, deal with your shit.
Yeah. I will say that this ending hit me extra hard because of losing Mr. Squeak. Not necessarily because Alsing was a pet. She wasn't. And she doesn't.
By then she was.
Well, by then she kind of was. And she doesn't really die. Like, the fox is still there, but it just that sense of loss that Prish has was very relevant to me.
Well, and Alsing hasn't died, but the end is coming. She has turned back into a fox, and I don't remember if it's explicitly stated, but I assumed that lifespans change for Starstruck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's maybe not explicit, but if Prish as a radish has been around for 20 years, I don't think radishes normally last that long.
No. Well, in my refrigerator, maybe.
Or foxes either, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, as Alsing has turned back, she is now suddenly at the very end of her lifespan, where before she wasn't. And so Prish is sort of putting food out for this fox that doesn't recognize her. It truly is just an animal at this point. But her limp is getting worse every day. Like, Prish is seeing the end before it comes, with this person who no longer recognizes her, no longer behaves like herself. I do think there are some parallels there with, losing loved ones when they're at the ends of their lives.
Absolutely.
When they don't, when they're not present anymore.
Yeah, I mean, this whole book has parallels in the human experience. Miss Squeak knew me until the end. Like that's
Yeah.
not something that's not something that I was personally struggling with, but at least in this case. But yeah, seeing that decline in someone is so hard.
Yeah,
Um,
and exactly, it was the knowing that the end is coming
yeah,
and having nothing that you can do about it.
yeah. So I was just sitting over there sobbing, like, "Oh, Mr. Squeak,
Yeah.
I'll sing, Prish."
Prish is just stuck with Otra at the end.
Although Otra does sound like she's matured a little bit.
Yes, even in the point of conflict around the machine, it seems like Otra kind of understands a little bit more about what's going on than she has let on, because she stole the letter, right? Which is
Yeah,
so shitty.
yeah. Otra's so self-absorbed, but she does grow.
Well, it's I don't know if self-absorbed is necessarily the right word. She is unhindered because she sees what's going on around her.
I mean, I guess I consider her self-absorbed because she is so focused on her destiny and the great big thing that she is going to do for most of the book.
Yeah. Self-important, maybe?
Yeah.
I just, because, like, to me, I think self-absorbed implies that she doesn't notice the people around her.
She does notice them. She just spends a lot of time ignoring that, I
Yeah.
think. And
She notices them, she just doesn't care.
yeah. But she does grow. I mean, and the thing
Yeah.
about this is that all of the characters in this grow. Like it's a really short novella, but I think that all of our four main characters are slightly different by the end of it because they have gone through personal growth and struggled with the events of the story.
Absolutely. And there is a bit of a time skip, right? After the conflict, and then those kind of italic sections from Wick's perspective, and then suddenly we are a little bit in the future, not a lot.
A couple of months later.
Yeah. And so Otra is going from a 4-day-old to a much older person in that,
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah. Maybe not a, year old, but every day counts when you're that young.
Mm-hmm. She's like quadrupled her life experience.
Yes.
More than. Wick doesn't stay with them. He does go with his cousins. Was he trying to get to his cousins the whole time? I thought that the family member had changed, but maybe that's just me not paying attention.
No, I think that he was trying to get there the whole
Okay.
time.
So the same relatives that he was looking for are the ones that come to get him.
Yeah. Or the same like family of relatives.
Yeah.
Like group of relatives.
They seemed nice.
Yeah, they seemed nice. They seemed like they cared about him quite a bit. And Wick was sad to leave Prish and Otra. Like he wanted them to come with him, but Prish can't leave Alsing.
Yeah. She said she'd visit, which was
yeah.
sweet.
And I hope she does.
Yeah.
And, maybe in a couple of years when Alsing is gone, she moves on.
That might be an optimistic timeline.
Well, yeah, actually, because Prish is very much in her head about everything. I don't know what that's like at all.
Overall, very good book. Absolutely, well, not absolutely heartbreaking at the end, because it is, like, optimistic. Otra's doing well. Prish seems to have adapted, even if she has lost her partner.
I mean, she says that she thinks she can come to love the new place that they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think that she finds a resilience in her. So it's not entirely sad.
It's just like a little devastating.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit devastating.
Yeah. It's very devastating, but there is a little kernel of hope there.
Yeah, and yeah, all of the characters seem to be like doing pretty well, except for Alsing.
Yeah.
Who's like gonna get eaten by a predator tomorrow.
Maybe, she'll become a Starstruck again. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
The stars are falling again.
Would it even be the same person though if it's a different soul? That's part of the world that's like not super clear.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because
but there's no guarantee that the two marbles that were taken out of Otra and Prish went into the right bodies.
I thought there was some line during Wick's section where he's like, I don't know which marble is the damaged one, but I know which one I hope it is, and that makes me feel bad. Which I thought kind of implied that it had to go into the right person to work, but maybe not. Maybe that just means he chose Alsing to not be the one to come back, which is a hard decision for a kid.
I don't think he chose any of it.
Alsing just ran away, and so he couldn't get it.
Yeah. I kind of got from that line, I kind of got the impression that he didn't want Notre to come back. Just because there had been tension between them to start with.
I thought so too. I just thought that by saying that he hoped the cracked one was a specific person implied that it mattered which one was who.
Oh. Maybe. I mean, I think it is left kind of ambiguous, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of thing that the book was like, we are not getting into. That's okay.
Yeah. It's not something that detracts from my enjoyment of the story at all. It's not something I need to know. It's just, little nuggets that I wonder about, which is fine.
But this is a book that lingers with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Fiction Fans.
Come disagree with us. We're on Blue Sky and Instagram at FictionFansPod. You can also email us at fictionfanspod@gmail.com or leave a comment on YouTube.
If you enjoyed the episode, please rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and follow us wherever your podcasts live.
We also have a Patreon where you can support us and find exclusive episodes and a lot of other nonsense.
Thanks again for listening, and may your villains always be defeated. Bye.